So Insomniac Games have responded to fans on Spider-Man 2 news, and since the big drop of info given by the voice actor for Venom, he teased that 2024 is going to be big and that we should note it down. And well, it seems we're in for a big DLC for Spider-Man 2 that will solve the myth on if we play as Venom or not. Now we have a lot of news to break down and the news is hot. Now if you could leave a like on this video, it helps a lot, so I'd really appreciate it. But if you actually get to the end of a video and you find, hey, I didn't actually enjoy it, then feel free to turn your like into a dislike. But if you could drop a like right now, it would help a ton. So since the voice actor for Venom, of course Tony Todd, actually released a whole bunch of info on how Venom will play as well as a map in this game, everyone has been hyped. But in the interview, he went on to say about how we all should be ready specifically for 2024. Now since that news has been going around, it seems like we may well be in for a big DLC for Spider-Man 2, with of course the game still being released next year in 2023, and then probably mid-2024 is when this big DLC with, well, Venom being the character that is playable. Yep, and it makes total sense. Now we've had the rumor go around for a while about switching characters in this game, and somebody mentioned, I just had a thought, with some rumors of Venom being playable, he could easily be end game material. Once Peter loses the symbiote gameplay in the story, having Venom be playable and using a slightly varied version of Peter's symbiote gameplay would make a lot of sense as a dev. Wise. Now another person actually said that there would definitely be a Venom DLC where you play as him, and that I'm calling it now. And another person said, would be nice if Venom had his own game, but if we are actually going to be able to switch between the three characters, I'm interested to see how that would actually play out. From going between the two superheroes to an anti-hero, that would just be amazing. Now of course, having Venom have his own DLC where you play as him is genius, and like the first comment said, it makes total sense as endgame content, and that's something that the first Spider-Man game to an extent actually lacked in. Of course, we all waited for that game to have the new game plus, and then we had the DLCs and a few new costumes, and then unfortunately the game just kind of fizzled out, although it still was a great game. So this is a great substitute, and it makes complete sense because, well, I've got to give you more context as to why this is actually going to be a thing. So specifically, it wouldn't make sense if people were saying that when Tony, the voice actor for Venom, was saying this, he was talking about a complete different game. It just wouldn't make sense, specifically because he said it whilst talking about Spider-Man 2 and his characters. So you might be on the fence and say, well no, he's just saying 2024 and that we should note it down because there might be another big game. Maybe he's talking about Wolverine. But as I say, it wouldn't make sense because he specifically said it whilst talking about Spider-Man 2 and even more specifically about his character. So the question is, why would you randomly say to note down 2024? Well, because he knows that fans really want to play as Venom, but it may just not be a thing in the main game. And either way, if it turns out to be a thing in the main game or as endgame content, this is huge. Now Insomniac Games have actually decided to take to Twitter and respond to a fan regarding news for this game. So they done a tweet that basically says, what is your favorite Venom power? Now, somebody then went ahead and took the, I guess just the guts to say, the one that gives us some news about Spider-Man 2, to which they then responded, that one's called patience. And this is just Insomniac being at their best, because when they start to engage with fans on Twitter is when things get very, very exciting because there is a clear build up to something. And I guess if you want to dig this a little bit deeper, why are we specifically talking about the Venom power in Miles Morales? Although, of course, you could randomly coincidentally be talking about that, but again, when you start to break these things down, things start to basically I guess, get put together like a puzzle. Now, from the first bit of news about Harry's voice actor being swapped and how there is going to be basically photorealism, to how Venom is going to play and how he is basically the Venom we all want and need, to how good this map in the game looks, to then finish it off with Insomniac telling fans to basically be patient, well, the news has begun rolling, and there is no doubt the heat has been turned up, and it makes total sense as the game is getting ready for the marketing process. Not to mention Sony, of course, axing an event, as well as this game not being on the list as most anticipated in the Game Awards category. I mean, things are getting very interesting, and I think it's a lot more interesting than we actually think, and this is going to go off the scales. Now, Game Rant actually suggested that Marvel Spider-Man 2 should actually consider one mechanic from the Spider-Man 3 game, specifically on the PlayStation 2 and PSP as well as the Wii. Sounds crazy? Let me explain. They said the following. The PlayStation 2, PSP, and Wii editions of Spider-Man 3 actually feature a mechanic that the PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 editions do not. This mechanic allows players to actively swap between Spider-Man's classic red and blue costume or the alien symbiote's black costume, but rather than being a simple cosmetic swap, the symbiote becomes more and more attached to the wearer the longer the players don it. Now then, when players try to switch back to the red and blue costume, a QTE minigame will appear as Spider-Man struggles to remove the black suit. I mean, this is actually a genius idea. You see, the thing with this Spider-Man game is we all knew, well, I guess we never knew technically what we were expecting with the first one, but we actually saw what they were able to deliver. So the expectations are really high, but equally, what is just as important is we know what the first game lacked in, and it was the replayability of the game, and it's something that a lot of people are actually talking about now as a primary topic for this game. Sure, we can get a great game, but we want to have that feature in the game where it triggers us back to just go ahead and play it over and over again. And things like this really do add that extra replayability feature, right? And I mean, if we're talking about this big DLC or expansion, whatever you want to call it, being added into the game, it would make total sense, because with the other DLCs we got in this game, bear in mind, we did have a good run-up of DLCs. For the first Spider-Man game, there is no doubt that the DLCs were actually good, but of course things like this would just really turn the heat up. So are we getting the Venom DLC, or are we getting Venom as a playable character in the main version of the game? Well, you want to find out what Tony Todd, the voice actor, actually had to say about the map in this game and how Venom plays, because it's going to blow you away. So check out that news on screen right now.